Hello everyone. It's been a while since I posted, but I'm currently replacing the blown up motor from my son's car with this JDM K20A out of Integra Type R. And I decided that I should let you guys know who own an 8th gen what it might take to install something when your son ordered the wrong one, even though it's technically the right one. So main reason that this happened is because he hydrolocked and rod number one left the chat. So with that said, we got a new engine. So this particular engine is a K20A, like I mentioned before. Let me see if I can get in here. Yeah, K20A out of a Integra Type R. Came with a transmission, 6-speed LSD. I'll show you that in a second. But I'm gonna go over what I needed to swap over in order to get all of this mess here to work. So one of the things I swapped out was the water bypass freaking bracket that holds the alternator and the AC compressor. Reason being was because the alternator that was on the other engine, on this engine originally, the alternator didn't, the 8th gen alternator didn't fit the bracket, so I swapped the mounting. Another part I swapped out was also the AC lower bracket, because then I couldn't bolt up the correct AC to this car. I also had to swap the starter. All right. I did install the 8th gen intake manifold, which I did cut. I think I did a pretty good job on that. It's jammed in there, but it's properly installed. Everything is put back together to try to be as stock as possible as far as like components, except for the thermostat housing. Reason I decided to go with this thermostat housing instead of the 8th gen one is because eventually my son wants to go with a TVS 1320 from Merc Racing, and you need to have the downward facing thermostat, which I will modify the hose to fit, because instead of going down, it'll go up. Another thing I had to replace and retrofit is back here. I had to replace the VTEC solenoid from the old motor because it didn't have the oil pressure switch. Just because I wasn't sure, I replaced the crank position sensor, because I know that some of them are different, and this car was running when it hydrolocked, so I'm assuming it's good. I also replaced the cam position sensors just because the wires didn't fit correctly, because I wanted to use the stock bracket. And I also swapped to this water inlet from the radiator, the air bypass valve. All right, everything else is basically situated. I'm getting ready to drop it in the car. It's got to move that thing out of the way and throw it in there. But as of right now, because I did everything how I did, I was able to use the stock belt. No issues on sizing. Oh, I did also change the crank pulley, because the crank pulley on this motor is a lot smaller. That will give me the right belt size. Every time my son needs to replace the belt, he can get the right one, because I don't think he's going super short in time soon, because he just spent $5,000 on this freaking thing and another like $2,000 on tools. But hey, that's what he gets for not living close to father. Anywho, yeah, obviously that's blown. That's gonna get put in there. Here's a whole mess of parts I took off and swapped and whatever, and I'm getting ready to install. And there's the 6-speed transmission out of the Integra Type R, and it does have LSD. So I'll decide what to do with that. Maybe we'll keep it for the internals or whatever, or probably sell it, because it is what everybody wants for swaps, with that, the shifter and all the BS that goes with that. But yeah, so this is what we're looking at. A quick short video on the components I swapped over. I'm pretty sure I got everything. I also had to swap out the oil pan, of course, because the oil pan that came with it, even though it's aluminum, didn't have the provisions for the lower mount. As my son gets engine oil and coolant, we'll get this going. Oh, I also used the K20C3 bracket Obviously, it doesn't bolt back here, but it'll be fine. If it can run with just those three, it can be fine. So this is not going to be an issue. That's all I can think about for now. Just giving you a quick, guys, a heads up of if you decide to use a K20A on an 8th gen, some other stuff you're going to have to swap over to get it to work. All right? Peace.